Somewhere between the explosions, the oil rigs, and all that star power, Landman completely lost the plot. This was supposed to be a gritty, pressure cooker drama. Instead, Season 2 feels like a show that forgot why people showed up in the first place. When Landman debuted, it came out swinging. Big names, big risks, bigger consequences. Season 1 lived in constant tension. Every deal felt dangerous. Every mistake felt final. The finale didn't just end the season, it dared the next one to go further. Season 2 didn't take that dare. As we crawl toward the finale, it's hard to ignore what's happened here. The urgency is gone. The danger feels artificial. The story drifts from one scene to the next without a clear destination. And aside from Billy Bob Thornton doing damage control in nearly every episode, the show feels like a shadow of itself. This breakdown includes spoilers. The clearest warning sign? Tommy Norris has been pushed to the sidelines in his own show. Season 1 worked because Tommy was volatile. You couldn't predict him, and the people around him couldn't either. He was funny, ruthless, and constantly one bad decision away from blowing everything up, and that tension carried the entire series. Season 2 reduces him to a passenger. When Tommy does appear, it's almost always in motion but never in action. He's driving, sitting, listening, standing around while other characters talk. The show keeps him boxed into offices and vehicles, safely away from the mess that once defined him. We barely see him in the field anymore. Barely see him dealing with workers. Barely see him making the kinds of calls that used to put lives and livelihoods at risk. For a series centered on oil, power, and chaos, that absence is glaring. And what replaces that time? Subplots that feel like they wandered in from a different genre. Angela and Dinsley dominate huge chunks of the season, but their stories never rise above surface-level drama. Angela chasing youth, Dinsley finding herself, Rebecca orbiting Charlie Newsom with nothing new to say. None of it escalates. None of it challenges the main story. These characters don't deepen the show. They dilute it. Yes, Tommy having a family matters. It grounds him, but the balance is broken. Instead of supporting the core conflict, these storylines smother it. Every cut away from M-Tex feels like the show actively stepping away from its own strengths. At a certain point, it stops feeling like character development and starts feeling like filler. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the penultimate episode. Ang Lee's college storyline is the clearest example of Season 2 completely misusing its time. It dominates episodes, yet somehow never matters. It doesn't collide with the main plot. It doesn't affect Tommy. It doesn't raise stakes. It exists in a vacuum, so every minute spent there is a minute stolen from the story the show is actually built around. And that's what makes it so frustrating. While the series sidelines Billy Bob Thornton, one of the strongest performances on television, it pours focus into characters who add nothing of real weight. At times, it genuinely doesn't feel like Landman anymore. It feels like a different show wearing the same title. That disconnect runs deeper than just bad pacing. The characters themselves don't even feel like the same people anymore. Take Cooper and Rebecca, two of the most important supporting players from Season 1. Cooper used to have direction. He wasn't just Tommy's son. He wanted out of his father's shadow. He carried guilt over the explosion. He was trying to prove something to himself more than anyone else. Add his growing relationship with Ariana, and suddenly you had a character pulled in multiple directions at once. Season 2 strips all of that away. Now Cooper exists almost entirely inside his relationship. His ambition? Gone. His internal conflict? Gone. His role as our window into life on the job site? Gone. Most of his scenes boil down to chasing, waiting, or pining. Even when Ariana breaks things off, he's reduced to sitting on her porch like time has stopped. And that's a shame, because the one moment this season where Cooper actually felt alive again was when he snapped in the penultimate episode and defended her. That sudden violence, that loss of control, that felt real, that felt earned. It was the best thing the character has done all season. If Season 3 wants Cooper to matter again, they need to bring back his hunger. Maybe the fallout from that fight, maybe even the threat of jail can finally give him layers again, because right now, he's been flattened. Rebecca's situation might be even worse. Season 1 introduced her as a force, sharp, fearless, unimpressed by power. She walked into rooms full of men who underestimated her and made them regret credit. More importantly, she gave Tommy leverage. She was the power he didn't have on his own. Season 2 doesn't know what to do with her. Her screen time is cut down, her presence is muted, and aside from one early confrontation, she's barely allowed to operate as a lawyer at all. Instead, her entire arc orbits around Charlie Newsome. Long looks, emotional hesitation, quiet longing. It's not that loneliness is a bad direction for the character. It actually makes sense. But the execution is the problem. Rebecca doesn't just feel vulnerable. She feels rewritten. Her confidence is replaced with passivity. Her edge is dulled. She starts to blend into the same emotional space as Angela and Dinsley, which completely erases what once made her unique. The show didn't explore a new side of Rebecca. It traded her identity for a romance subplot. Then there's the elephant in the room, losing Jon Hamm and never replacing what he brought to the table. Monty's death was necessary. Season 1 needed it, but Jon Hamm's presence left a void the show never filled. The chemistry between him and Billy Bob Thornton was electric. Every scene felt like a power struggle, and you believed every second of it. Season 2 tries to compensate by bringing in Sam Elliott as TL, and on paper that sounds like a win, but in execution it falls flat. TL never evolves. From his first appearance, he's locked into the same emotional note: regret, exhaustion, and waiting for the end. He talks about dying. He watches the sun rise and set. He stares at horses. Over and over again, Sam Elliott can deliver something incredible. He proved that in 1883, but there, the character had movement, grief, and purpose. Here, TL feels frozen in place. His best moment came during the funeral in episode 4, and after that, everything he does feels recycled. Without a strong counterweight to Tommy, the show loses tension. Without tension, it loses momentum. And without momentum, season 2 slowly drifts, never crashing, but never soaring either. At the end of the day, all of these problems funnel into one unavoidable truth. Season 2 is boring, not offensively bad, not disastrous, just flat. And for a show that once thrived on danger, that might be the worst sin of all. Yes, the character shifts matter. Yes, sidelining Tommy hurts the core of the series. Yes, losing a presence like Jon Hamm left a hole the show never filled. But hovering over everything is the feeling that nothing actually happens anymore. Season 1 was restless. Every episode felt loaded. Something explosive, sometimes literally, was always around the corner. A worker dying in the opening minutes. A catastrophic site explosion. Cooper getting jumped and Tommy delivering payback. Cartel pressure lurking in the background. A daughter being followed. Monty's death detonating the power structure. The show never let you get comfortable. Season 2 does the opposite. For most of its runtime, it coasts. The danger is talked about more than it's shown. Threats dissolve into meetings. Conflict turns into polite standoffs layered with passive aggression. Even Dan Morell, who once felt genuinely dangerous, becomes surprisingly toothless. The crew that terrified people in season 1 might as well not exist now. When the season finally does wake up, Ariana being attacked, Cooper stepping in, Tommy getting fired, it's almost jarring. Those moments work. They remind you of what this show can be. But they arrive far too late to rescue a season that's already drifted for too long. The Louisiana Rig storyline is another example. On paper, losing $400 million should feel catastrophic. In practice, it never does. Cammy's detachment drains the stakes. If everything collapses, it feels less like a tragedy and more like an inevitability, which makes it hard to care. Looking at season 2 as a whole, average feels generous, but fair. There are flashes of quality. Episode 4 stands out. The ending of episode 9 hits. But those moments are isolated peaks in a season that never sustains momentum. Season 1 made Landman appointment television. It gave you something to talk about every single week, and even taught you something about the industry along the way. Season 2 drags its feet. The pacing is uneven, the storylines don't always connect, and somehow the show about landmen spends less and less time actually being about landmen. That said, all hope isn't gone. Tommy being fired is a genuine shakeup. Cooper potentially facing jail opens the door to real consequences again. If the finale leans into those threads, and if season 3 commits to restoring tension, urgency, and identity, Landman could still find its way back. But for now, there's no avoiding it. This is what happens when a sharp, dangerous show loses focus. This is the downfall of Landman. Hopefully, season 3 learns from these missteps and steers Landman back toward the tension, focus, and edge that made the first season work.